I don't know who in the DuPont family set my mother up to do this, but I know I listened to my parents discussing this, and I'll get into how I know about this later. There is a high-speed hypnotic device that the Illuminati have developed called, I call it a hand spinner. It's about the size of the palm of your hand. This high-speed device will knock anyone out and put them into the deepest state of hypnosis, where your subconscious is wide open for programming in less than 5 seconds. When you sit your children in front of TV, you subject them to a mild form of hypnotic trance. That's why any Illuminati pedophile that's armed with one of these high-speed spinners can go up to your child, hypnotize them in less than 5 seconds, put whatever deep subconscious programming into them, rape them, abuse them sexually, and then bring them out of the trance, and your child will never know what happened to them. But let me get back to what my mother did to John DuPont. She went to Buzz Ware, the head of the Addendum cult, who supposedly was a reptilian shapeshifter also, a Syrian. Don't know what to make of that. Part of me says, good chance there are other entities in the universe and other dimensions that are silicone-based life forms rather than carbon-based, that are reptile-based life forms rather than mammal-based, probably aquatic life forms. With the ability of this holodeck to manifest all the things that you see, I'd say the sky's the limit as to what's possible. But Buzz Ware approved. My mother went to Buzz Ware and said she wanted to take a high-speed deep hypnosis device and use it on John DuPont and program him so that his life would be destroyed and that in 25 years he would implode, go ballistic, and ruin his life. 25 years after my mother got to John DuPont, he shot and killed his friend, the wrestler Schultz. He was arrested by the police and charged with murder. He eventually wound up in the Norristown State Hospital, which is maintained by money from his vast fortune. John DuPont lost his life due to a economic backstabbing plot to take over his wealth by members of his own family. The Addendum cult run by Buzz Ware approved this covert operation to destroy his life. I think John DuPont and the Schultz family deserve to know the truth of why Schultz got murdered and why John DuPont did what he did all his life. He was monarch mind controlled. His life was stolen from him. If you study human psychology and physiology, you will know that 99% of your life, maybe 95%, 99%, it varies on who you talk to. 95, let's say, % of your decisions and your actions in your life are based on your subconscious programming. Your subconscious is 1,000 times stronger than your conscious mind. The human being receives its subconscious in the first 6 years of its life. In the first 6 years of your life, you're in a hypnagogic trance. You cannot differentiate or filter out any information that your mind and body, your 5 senses, is receiving. It all goes into the subconscious, which makes literally the hard drive to the biological computer that you are in this holodeck. So if you grow up into a culture that is loving to women and fair to women, there's a good chance in your life you'll be fair to women and loving to women. If you grow up into a culture that practices pedophilia, murder, and human sacrifice, there's a good chance you're going to be a pedophile human sacrificer. You get the point? You need to look at Bruce Lipton's Wisdom of Yourselves to understand what I'm talking about. But there's other people like Kevin Trudeau, and just go to my 2011 Free Your Mind Conference presentation and follow the yellow brick road to freedom, okay? Because you're in for it. The Illuminati want to destroy you, and it's crunch time. So I want to get it out onto the web that John DuPont was an Illuminati mind control victim, done in by the cult of Addendum, done in by my mother, his teacher, Josette Parker, with the approval of Buzz Ware and my father, Albert E. Parker. So let's go on to another incident growing up in Addendum, the pedophile mass murdering village that thinks it's a former art colony. Growing up in Addendum, the Satanic Ritual Abuse Center was located under the Candlelight Dinner Theater in the back of Buzz Ware's gallery. One evening in, I guess, 1970, 69, might have been 71, an actress from the Candlelight Dinner Theater ventured into the gallery. The door was left unlocked. She went through the gallery into the back room where the satanic ritual abuse occurs. She walked in on a pedophile abuse session. They immediately killed her, dismembered her body, and put it in a suitcase. That body was then given to the police, who planted it on an immigrant Chinese cook who worked in a strip mall in Fairfax Shopping Center. He was subsequently sentenced and convicted for murder and abuse of a corpse, put into prison in Delaware, and then murdered there. The consulate of Taiwan, who investigated this case and tried to help that innocent Chinese cook, stated publicly there was no way this cook did this murder. I have witnessed many murders, being a monarch mind control slave in Addendum. The murder of Jack Hawes, who was killed because he went to the newspapers. He was hit over the head and his apartment set on fire, and he died of smoke inhalation. The murder of Peter Brockman, who was shot in the chest with a shotgun in his parents' garage. It was called suicide. I'll never forget Peter, Don Holcomb, and my older brother Jamie being on the Addendum Green, and Peter being livid about his best friend Jack Hawes' murder, and talking about the abuse of the Illuminati pedophile cult in Addendum. Don Holcomb and my older brother Jamie scornfully and with malice told Peter he'd better not talk about this, and told them to shut up about what was going on. Peter just looked at them with scorn. He stopped talking about it, but 2 weeks later, he was found dead in his parents' garage, and it was called suicide. Yeah, if you believe Peter Brockman killed himself, well, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. I also want to talk about the murder of my best friend in first grade, Brandon Ploner. Brandon was killed by being raped so horrifically, they tore a hole in his colon. He went septic. After 2 days, his family reached out for help. The veterinarian, Bernie Brockman, went to aid my friend Brandon, who was dying of sepsis. But the infection was too far gone, and there was no antibiotic that could help Brandon. He died the next day. My parents openly talked in front of me about what was going on in the cult. When I knew that Brandon was dying, I jumped out of the window to escape my family, and I ran down to Ploner's house on the mall, the East Mall in Addendum. To get there, just as Bernie Brockman was putting the corpse of my friend wrapped in a green tarp with brass eye hooks into the trunk. I was not able to save the life of my friend. I immediately went to some Christians that lived down the street. I told them about the murder of my friend and about the ritual pedophile abuse and murder that goes on regularly in Arden. He went to the police. The police told him, "We know what goes on in Arden, but we can't do anything about it." The reason the police can't do anything about it is because the Illuminati trillionaires and billionaires that control your society, your economy, your politics, they have the money for secret armies of assassins. They control the media. They can set you up and knock you down 100 ways to Sunday. They own you. They own this place. You're their slave. And until you stand up to them, you're going to die. And you're going to die soon. That's all I got to tell you. But there is a chance if you activate your consciousness, because this is a consciousness-driven holodeck. In Brandon's death, after my friends, the Christians, could not help, Frank Starr, my father, and Chuck Connor, who after Buzz Ware's death eventually became the coordinator of the Marquis of Hell cult in Arden, Ardentown, and Ardencroft. Chuck Connor said to my friend, "If you don't stop pursuing justice for the murder of this child, we'll kill your son. And you know we control the police. We control the newspapers. You want to mess with us? Your son's dead. And then we'll see about you and your wife." So he backed down. He eventually moved his family out of the country. Then what they did with me, for trying to get them and put in jail for murder, they took me to Gordon Pizer, friend of traumatized children from the University of Pennsylvania. They electroshocked my brain until I didn't know my name. They made sure there was no short-term memory associated with the murder of my friends. They wiped my brain clean. So I lived the rest of my childhood and early adult life as a zombie, literally. So the cult was openly able to talk about things in front of me because I was so disassociated and mind-controlled. I had one foot in reality and one foot in La La Land. You got away with the murder of Brandon Ploner. But 10 years later, his brother Brandon Ploner moved back to the area, and he started investigating the cult and taking notes on who was involved. Brad Ploner was set up by the Illuminati and shot 13 times. They then threw some drugs into the car they shot him in and said, well, it was just a drug deal gone wrong. They shot him 13 times for the Council of 13, which rules America, so that the police would know it was an Illuminati hit and they were not to investigate, which they did not do. They just let it go. Just drug dealers killing each other, no big deal. Keep walking.